morning everybody and welcome to Homeschool with Mrs. Simpson. Today we're looking at fractions and what happens when you don't have part of a whole, if you've got more than a whole. So we have done the last few days how fractions actually mean part of a whole. So if you've got one whole pizza but you share it between 4 friends, you get 1/4 each. You get 1/4 each, and that all 4 of those quarters add up to make one whole pizza. So what happens when you've got, we know that 4 quarters equals 1 whole. Okay, we know that for a fact. But what happens if we have 5 quarters? We've all eaten 5 quarters of a pizza before. That just means we've had all of our own pizza and we've stolen a piece from our brother or sister. So that means we've got 5 quarters is how many quarters to make 1 whole? 4 quarters. And we've got 1/4 extra that we pinched off someone. So altogether 4 quarters, which is 1 whole, and 1/4 extra that we've got extra. So this is how whole numbers and fractions work together, and they call those mixed numbers. So mixed numbers have a bit of a whole, bit of a fraction. They've got everything all in there together. So I'm going to show you how to convert them as simply as possible. Let's say we have the number 7/3. If we have 7/3, well, that means that we do in fact have our 3/3, our 1 whole. We have an extra 3/3, that makes 6/3, and we have another third to make our 7/3. So we have in fact got 1 whole, 2 wholes, and an extra third. So we write it as 2 and 1 extra third. Now there is an easy way of doing it without having to break it all down here. We can say, I remember that the line means divide by. 7 divided by 3. Well, 3 goes into 7 2 whole times with 1 remainder. And there's the remainder at the top, remainder 1. We don't write remainder 1 like we did in primary school. Remember we wrote 2 remainder 1. In primary school we write it like this because we want to know how many do we have left over. But now we need to get into the trick of what does that actually mean, remainder 1? How do I have remainder 1 of a pizza? So let's look. When it's cut into thirds, well, we say 3 goes into 7 2 whole times, that's where the 2 comes from, and 1 remainder, but the remainders are thirds. So we say 1 remainder and it's thirds. That's where that comes from. So I'm going to do a couple of those for a practice. Okay, so let's go with 9/5. 9/5. So how many times does 5 go into 9? Well, it goes in once. Remainder what? Remainder 4. So we say, well, there's our remainders, and our remainders are slices of fifths. So we have 4/5, 1 whole and 4/5. What about 12? Let's go with 12/5. Well, 12 divided by 5. 5 goes into 12 2 times. How many remainders? 2 remainders. And our remainders are slices of fifths. So that's how we do it. 7/2. Well, 2 goes into 7. How many times? 2, 4, 6. Goes in 3 times with 1 remainder. There's our remainder. And what are we dividing by? Oh, we're dividing by 2. So they're halves on the bottom. So this is how we turn our mixed numbers into top-heavy fractions. Our top-heavy fractions into mixed numbers. Now, to go back the other way, if we've been given the mixed number and we have to do some calculations with it, it's often easiest to work with it as a normal-looking fraction, even if it is top-heavy. So let's say we've been given our 1 and 4/5. We need to know how many fifths to make 1 whole. So there's 5/5 to make 1 whole, so that's 5/5, and we've got 4/5 left over. There's our 4/5. We've got 5/5 here and 4/5 there, so that makes 9/5. So that's how we go backwards. And look, that's what we started with. Cool. How many fifths make one whole? 5/5, you're right. 5/5. We have 2 wholes, so that's another 5/5. And we've got these spare guys, 2/5 remaining. So 5, 10, and 12/5 we have. 12/5. And that's what we had to start with. Let's try this one. How many halves do we need to make 3? Well, we need 2 halves, 2 halves, and 2 halves. That makes 3. 1, 2, 3. Oops, I wrote the wrong number there. 2 halves. That's 3. And we've got an extra half remaining. So we have 2, 4, 6, extra 1 makes 7 halves. And that is what we had at the start. So that is a very cool way to get your head around what does it mean to turn a mixed number into an improper fraction. Getting your head around how many of each one is in there. So this is the groovy trick of it. The quick method, for those of you who've just grabbed that idea, is we multiply and then we add the extras. So 5 times 1 is 5. Add on the extras, we have 9. 9 what's? 9/5. That's our cheap method here. Again, 5 times 2 is 10, plus the extras makes 12. We have 12/5. Then our last one, 2 times 3 is 6, plus the extras makes 7. We have 7 halves. Thank you. Now, I've got some for you to try for yourself. Alright, here's some for you to try. So what I'd like you to do now is press pause, and I'll zoom you in. Try these and then I'll go through the answers for you. So have a go, get them into your book, and I'll be back in a second with the answers and how to do it. Good luck. Okay, I'm going to go through these answers and how to do them. So our first lot here, 7/5. How many 5s are in 7? Well, 1 5 in 7 and 2 remainders, 1 and 2/5. 5 goes into 12 twice with 2 remainders, and we're talking fifths. 2 goes into 3 once, and there's 1 left over, divided by 2. 2 goes into 15 7 times. That makes 14, doesn't it? Then there's 1 remainder, and what am I dividing by? Divide by 2. There's your answer. How many 20s are there in 60? 20, 40, 60. There are 3 20s in 60, and I've got 3 remainders, and I'm dividing by 20, so 20ths. It's an unusual fraction, that one, but it's still fine. How many 4s are there in 18? There's 4 wholes, that makes 16. Then there's 2 remaining, 2/4. Ooh, 2/4. We could cancel that down to be 1/2. So you can do that if you notice it. 1/2. How many 6s are there in 18? There's 3 with no remainders. So this is a whole number. So if you are asked to work with a whole number, but you need sixths or some fraction, change it by making it sixths on the bottom, and what do you have on the top? So 18 divided by 6 equals 3 with no remainders. Now these ones over here we're going to use our groovy trick with. We're going to do multiply and then add on the extras. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 3 extras makes 11/4. That would be our improper, our top-heavy fraction. Times by 5, 5 times 1 is 5, and 1 extra makes 6, and I've got fifths, 6/5. 9 plus an extra 1 makes 10, 10/3. 28 plus an extra 1 makes 29 fourths. Times by 3, so 2 times 3 is 6, and an extra 1 makes 7. I've got 7 halves. Times 7 by 10 makes 70, plus an extra 1, 71 over 7. That's a big one, isn't it? 2 times 12 is 24, plus the extra 1 makes 25. 25 divided by 2 is in fact 12 and a half. So let me zoom you in on the answers there so you can check all of your answers and see how you performed. Well done. So now you can use all of these to work out any questions that you like involving fractions. So good luck with any homework that you're doing at the moment, and I hope you're staying safe and enjoying the sunshine as well. Happy fractions. Bye.